Well, you all know Karen Hood, and we're so glad to have her here with her son Jesse. Jesse's 9 years old, and he's going to help with the survival seminar. And of course, Karen was married to Ron Hood, and we lost Ron about a week and a half after the Blade Show 2 summers ago. And it was such a shock, and we had just talked to him, and actually at the Blade Show, after he appeared at our club meeting on that Saturday, we were all over at the buck display area in the Blade Show, and we were actually talking at length about this seminar and this week. And CJ and Ron and I and John were talking about various things that we would do. And so we're going to say this is certainly in Ron's memory. And Karen, we give you and Jesse just a real warm welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I don't know where Rich went. Where did Rich go? Where he?
Probably at the bathroom.
Oh, okay. He said he was going to be here because he's got some. He's going to help me with some facts and stuff that he knew about the hoodlum. As you know, I'm Karen Hood. I own Survival.com, Survival Quarterly Magazine, a Survival Channel, and about 50 other websites, including WoodsMasterJr.com. And this is my little Woodsmaster Jr. Jesse. Can you stand up, Jess? This is Jesse. He's 9 years old, and he helps me with the business. I wanted to thank the Buck family for allowing me to do this, and I wanted to thank Larry Oden, who just left, and Brenton D. Schenderwolf for including me in on this event. It really means a lot to me because I know that my husband is the one who really should be the one up here talking, but unfortunately the circumstances are that I am. Hi, Rich.
Hello.
Where'd you go?
I got to grab me. Went to the potty.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
I was just explaining the websites that we own and this and that. A lot of you probably have heard of Ron Hood, and yeah, you know the hoodlum and the thug and the punk. How many people here have seen All Three Knives?
Woohoo.
How many people here do know about Ron Hood? Okay. That's great. How many people knew that we own Survival.com?
What? Yeah.
Okay, so we started Survival.com. Actually, let me start from the beginning here. Ron was in the Army Security Agency during the Vietnam War, and he was in intelligence. What, Jess?
Where'd I put my cup?
I don't know. You can find it.
Oh, dang it, I left it down at the shop. Oh, down at the shop.
Anyway, and that is a very elite branch of the Army that is now disbanded and now part of the NSA. And it's just changed forms. And his, I don't know what you knew about Ron, but he did 2 tours in Vietnam, and he was in intelligence, and he was attached to Special Forces. And
You know what would be a great story? It's the one that the neighbors were doing the drugs. That's awesome.
I may get to that one. Yeah, Ron knew how to get back at people, that's for sure, from his deviousness in the Army Security Agency. But anyway, his security clearance was so high that it was 1 step down from presidential. That's how high he was. He had something that a lot of people don't know about. It was called a worldwide badge. You could bump anyone off anytime, any airplane to get wherever the heck you needed to go, wherever your order said to go. He could do whatever he wanted. He could carry a firearm anywhere that any official or president or cabinet member could do. He had basically carte blanche on anything he wanted to do. And I'm not saying that he didn't abuse that a couple of times to get home for Christmas, but because he did. When they wouldn't let him go, he went AWOL for a couple of times. They didn't know he was AWOL until he was already back. So got a couple of really funny stories that way. So he knew how to get stuff done. But anyway, that's when he got out of the service, he came back and got spit on. Within 5 minutes, he had someone in the LAX airport upside down in a garbage can they were protesting against him. He was so embarrassed when he got home that he did not want his parents to come and pick him up at the airport, so he walked all the way from LAX all the way to Sherman Oaks with just his bivy sack on in his fatigues. And literally 24 hours before, he was in the zone. So it was like complete culture shock for him. He was He was disoriented, you know, PTSD, all sorts of things that he had to go through. He came home a completely different person. His dad, who turns 95 in September, this September, said when he came back from Vietnam, he was a completely different person. And it took quite a while for Ron to find himself. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know what kind of things to teach or anything like that. And he thought, you know what, I know survival. I'm going to teach survival. So he started teaching at a community college down there, not making very much money, but he didn't care. At least he was making some money. And it grew into him going back to college and eventually getting all but his dissertation from Pepperdine University. So he is a doctorate of education, all but ABD, all but dissertation. So for all intents and purposes, he was a doctor. So we do call him Doctorhood. Did you get it going?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Oh, good. Well, when I get to this, we can turn it down. Actually, how do I?
To advance, right?
Oh, that right on. Okay, great, cool. Actually, this goes.
The laser too.
Oh, that's cool.
They taught me the laser. We learned the laser.
Oh, right
On
on.
the side.
Well, that's Ron. That's Ron when we were filming our Volume 5 video. But anyway, to get back to Ron, Ron ended up teaching at USC and UCLA and then Cal State Northridge, and that's where I met him. I took his course. I didn't want to take his course. My friend dragged me into it. I said, I already know all there is to know about wilderness survival because I grew up on 3 acres in Redding, California. And I had all my forts, and I knew how to dig holes, and I knew how to make shelves from nothing. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I started taking his class, and I loved it. He was so fun and so interesting to talk to. He just made you laugh every time. He made learning really fun. He was very, very good at it. So this is Ron. We met, which is a funny story. And anyone who does not have our magazines, does anyone in here have any of our magazines?
Yeah.
Okay, I noticed yesterday not very many people came over here. These magazines are filled with Buck Knives history. This is a tribute I did to my husband. And in here, after Ron passed away, Buck Knives did a beautiful celebration here at the Buck Knives factory. I have the entire speech I did at my husband's celebration. I have exactly what happened in the boardroom with the entire Buck family after Ron passed away and what they did for me and what they said to me. And you all are missing out on a big, huge amount of Buck history here by not having this. This is my latest issue. It has the hoodlum on it. Buck Knives writes in it. And almost all of my magazines have the Buck Knives advertising in them. At the time that Ron passed away, we had 4 issues out, and we had to stop on our 4th issue because he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. I'm kind of going past a lot of things, so I'm going to probably be flipping back and forth as I think of them.
That's what I did.
It was in 2011, and our 4th issue, in our 4th issue, a lot of people didn't know what was going on, but when you get to the last page, there's a thing here that says that we're going to be discontinuing our, or at least putting our magazine on hiatus because Ron has aggressive prostate cancer. And he did. He had prostate cancer removal surgery, and we thought that we got all of the, and this is all from Agent Orange exposure. He remembers being in Vietnam, and he remembers it's like, you know the smell of ortho when you spray it? That's what it smelled like. They would come by, and it was an exfoliant or defoliant or whatever it's called. But it was Agent Orange, very, very highly toxic to people. And he remembers it being slathered all over him like oil. He remembers eating his steak or whatever he was eating and tasting it in his food. So it was severely saturated at the time. And so he got to be about 65, and he's like, man, I think I've outrun this. I think I've outrun this. I think I'm going to do good. And he was so healthy all the way up until he got his diagnosis of prostate cancer. And when we found out about the prostate cancer, we not only found out that he had it, which is bad enough, but that it was the very, very aggressive kind that comes with Agent Orange. It's aggressive and extremely fast growing. So we opted to immediately change our lives and have it removed. And so we had it removed, and they removed a little bit extra around it, you know, just for safe measure, and unfortunately came back that they didn't remove everything. There was still minute sections in there. And so are you telling me to do something? Oh, okay. So we did. We had it removed, and had the bone scan and the whole deal to find out if it had spread. Hadn't spread. We were, thank God. And that was January that we had it removed, and then June 22nd, he had a massive heart attack, completely unexpected. We knew we had at least another 5 or 6 years with him because we knew it was going to be fast growing, and we saw, what the statistics were with regards to people who had Agent Orange and that type of cancer. And so, but he did. He had a massive heart attack and passed away. And he always told me that if I die, I want to die in my sleep next to my love. And that's what he did. He was in control of his life until the very end. And while it was tragic, if I had to choose between watching my husband actually go down the hill and, in a very bad way, this would probably be what I would choose for him and for us as well. So we miss him terribly, don't we, Jesse? Yeah, yeah. And I also talk about that day that he passed away in detail in the tribute issue. It's very, very personal to me, and will give you a huge insight into our family. And there's a lot of stories in here from his family members and really funny stories from people that he's known throughout his life. He was a really funny guy. He liked to play practical jokes, just like this one right here.
So we need to hear that story.
I'm not telling that story. So Ron got laid off after I started taking Ron's class in Cal State Northridge, and I was not dating him while he was my teacher, just so you know. I do talk about how we meet also. It's really funny. It is really yeah, no, it didn't work like that, but he and I definitely hit it off, and he got laid off due to cutbacks from the California State University system. He got laid off. They were getting rid of all of the part-time teachers and keeping all the tenured teachers who were completely crusty and burnt out. And I went into the dean and I said, "Dean, you work for me." I went in my ballet outfit. I was a ballet dancer before, ballet, tap, jazz. I was a teacher as well. I was dancing with Patrick Swayze's mom. She was my mentor. I knew the entire Swayze family. As in the what?
What's Patrick's real name?
Patrick's real name is what?
Eugene.
It is?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought you.
No,
I thought you.
I didn't know that. No, I knew his wife, Lisa Nemi, his mom, smoked cigarettes the whole time. Plie, releve.
Oh, no.
Yeah, plie, releve. She's like, that sucked. So yeah, that's how she was. She'd be like, you need to get out of my class. So no, so she was a character. She didn't have a car. I used to drive her home. But anyway, that's beside the point. At the time that I met Ron, I was a dancer. Why did I bring that up? There was a reason why I brought that up. He did. He got laid off. And at the time, I was a dancer, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And he got laid off. He was out of work for, I don't know, 6 months to a year. And he started sending his resumes out. He started sending his resumes out to everyone because he's basically the jack of all trades. He could do whatever he wants. He's got that kind of mindset, the kind of guy who you give him a job and he'll do it. And he'll do it, not only just do it, he will do it 150%. So he finally got a job at a place called Magic International, and that's owned by a world-renowned magician, Mark Wilson, who was the president of the Magic Castle down in Southern California. And Ron got hired on there as his marketing director, and they started together the Mark Wilson video course in magic. And he had an infomercial on with the guy from 8 is Enough, I forget. It was when infomercials first started, and he had a video course in magic, and that's what we sold. Well, they hired me as a shipping clerk, and Ron and I were dating at this time. And we thought, you know what? No one else has any videos out on wilderness survival, and we can be doing the same thing that we're doing with the Magic International in wilderness survival. So we did. We started our video series. Our very first one was Volume 1, Spark-Based Fire Starting. We've got 30 out now, right now. We started with one, and we were so happy when we made 20 extra bucks a week. And we got to the point where then we did number 2, Survival Shelters and Priorities. These are all an hour and 45 minutes long, at least. And we went and went and went. Volume 3 is survival kits, mini and maxi survival kits. They're all different. Next one's navigation, next one's traps and trapping, and they're all super in-depth, fun to watch. Pretty soon, we quit the job because we were making enough money on this. So we bootlegged this whole entire thing. We bootlegged the whole thing. We bootstrapped the whole thing, and we grew our business. And pretty soon we were winning Telly Awards. We won 12 so far, and the reason I think we haven't won more is because we only entered 12. And these are actually made by the same people that make the Academy Awards, the same company. And we have 12 of these. I was filming, I was the videographer. Yeah, I was the videographer and Ron was the talent. Then we decided, you know what? There's no women's, and this is way before YouTube, guys. This is way before you could get online. We started with VHS.
What?
We were the only game out there. And so we started winning awards, and they're fun to watch. They're just so informative. If you guys don't have any, I highly recommend. Then we started, where did my other ones go? My cave cooking. This is outdoor cooking with women. And I show how to skin animals, how to eat bugs, how to cook them properly, how to forage for natural yeast sources to make wilderness bread and make it rise. I show a dough rising tent. I show how to make a stone oven and make pizza out in the wilderness with things that you find. And what are you doing, Stinker?
Stinker.
That's the grub pizza.
Yeah, he likes to grub pizza. So that's what we do, and I won Tilly Awards for those as well. So we basically did that. Then along comes Cabela's and Walmart and Kmart, and pretty soon we've got these out in those stores. And this is with Stony Wolf Productions. Where'd the other one go? Oh, I guess I didn't bring the other one. We have these, our compilation DVDs of all of our, these like are 10 minutes from each of our yeah, it's like a compilation, you know. This one I did after Ron passed away. I did this last year, and the same company, Stony Wolf, said we want to do one more. So this one is called The Ultimate Survival Guide, and I made sure that they put the hoodlum on the front of it and Ron with his buck. Buck didn't know I was doing that. I did that because I thought it was cool. But it says with Ron and Karen Hood. I'm in this one as well. So that's what we've done. This is one of our Telly Awards. You get one of these. You get one of these plaque with your award also. So where am I now? So we're there then. We've been doing that for years and years and years, and our videos are still selling strong. They're still known as the best in the industry. We have military teams all over the world that use these. We have they're so interesting and so easy to watch that we have people who homeschool and watch these. We have people who use them for military. I mean, the whole gamut of, and I have some people who don't even watch cable TV, and they say the only thing you can watch are the Ron Hood and Karen Hood videos. And they'll come up and they'll verbatim tell me exactly what, you know, how to do a figure 4 trap. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Jesse, you need to behave if you're going to be up here, okay? Okay. Is there anything you want to say about Daddy?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Okay. Well, you need to be quiet if you're going to be up here, okay? Okay. Thank you. I am going to have you show how to hand over a knife properly, because a lot of people don't know that, right? We can talk about knife safety. Let me get this thing. Where did that thing go? Because I've got pictures that go along with all these things that I'm saying. Show you. This is Ron. We were filming our Volume 5 Traps and Trapping, and that's Kuma, his soulmate doggy, who passed away before Ron passed away. Is this the right way? Do you know which way?
Yeah, I think it's, yeah.
Which one are we going to do here?
That's back.
Back, okay, forward. All right. Here's Ron in the military, and there was a little bit of controversy when we first started because he's wearing a ring. This is what he did. He was wearing a Special Forces ring. And at that time, there wasn't anything on the internet or anything about the Army Security Agency, and he was basically told he couldn't talk about it. And so basically when anybody would ask him what he did, he would say, well, I was with the Special Forces. And then someone got a hold of his DD-214, and it didn't say Special Forces. And when you're in the ASA, they don't put all of your places that you are on there, so someone tried to say that he was a phony and this and that. Well, he wasn't. Now there's all sorts of information and all sorts of they're basically outed now, so he could say. But at that time, it was not very good. There were some people who were saying that there's Ron. Look how skinny he was. This is a scan. This is Ron and his doggy Shin, who was the biggest type of Akita. He loved Akita dogs, very, very loyal dogs. That's him and Shin before I met him. These are trips that he used to do in the 1960s, 1970s. Oh, wow, how'd that one get up there? That's interesting. This is one of our trips, actually. These are two of the TAs that I know very well. we used to do a wilderness sauna. And what you do is, this is I guess it's a survival tool. This is how we would do what? Oh, pointer, right. Pointer, where is it? Where is it, right here? Oh, right on. This is basically a sweat lodge. Basically made a teepee, used one of our tarps, and there's some water right here. You can see there's a little hole right there. There's a fire here. You let that fire go for about 2 hours and put rocks inside. Make sure they're not stream rocks or they'll explode, because if they have any moisture in them at all, they'll explode. A lot of people don't know that. They can get very dangerous. But basically, you take. There's a little opening right there where she's standing, and you take the hot rocks and you move the hot rocks into the inside of here, and you can see we have a little. We made a little bowl with water in it, and you put it in there, and it steams. And it steams, and then we'd get like aromatics out here, pennyroyal and such, and put it in there and wash our face with it, and it was just really wonderful. We came out really clean, because when you're out there you can get really, really dirty and sweaty and hot, because it's about 95 degrees out there. That's us when we first met. This was one of our very, very first trips together, and I was 21 right there, 21 years old. And Ron was 27 years older than me. You'd never know it, because when we first started going out, on our very first date, we started finishing each other's sentences. So we just knew that we were meant to be. These are our two doggies. That one right there is mine, and she's not very smart. That one right there is Ron's, and was very, very smart. But she was very lovey. She was really sweet. Her name was Sushi. And his name was Kuma, which means bear in Japanese. They're Japanese Akitas, and they're actually bred for killing bears. And so they were the perfect animal. They didn't even need to, when it was raining outside, they sit outside of our tent. They wouldn't even need shelter. They're so hardy. They're very loyal as well. This is Ron. This is me filming Ron about a couple years ago on Lake Coeur d'Alene.
Get the picture then if you were filming.
Well, someone else took that picture. Gina took that picture. Yeah, Gina was, yeah. There's Ron. This particular picture was taken, I don't know if you know who Bear Grylls is, from Man vs. Wild on TV. He actually was supposed to be in that series, and I have the original. This picture was taken on that filming shoot. The pilot episode was called Ultimate Survivor, and this was taken on that trip. No, he was supposed to be his sidekick to tell him not to do stupid things, and they ended up pulling him out. And yeah, unfortunately, so. But that's what happens. That's our green machine Hummer, and Ron was the mayor of our last city that we lived in, and this was taken right after he became mayor. And that was quite an interesting thing, because he was such an interesting person. You either loved him or you didn't. Most people loved him, but there was a few that we left the Garden Valley with a bullet hole in our deck, and it was all over a stupid thing about some bike-a-thon. It was really ridiculous. So anyway, it was a really small town. Garden Valley, Idaho. Yeah. It was actually Crouch. He was the Crouch. We call it Crotch, but that's okay. Don't tell anybody. This was supposed to be the cover of our first magazine, but didn't happen. We got a different one. And, I do want to thank Mike Dolmage. This is Mike Dolmage. He's the one who brought Ron on. He doesn't work here any longer. He is from Buck Knives, one of my very, very favorite people, and I cried when he left. He left after Ron passed away, and he was the person who decided to bring on the survival line and thought that would be a good addition to Buck Knives. And it was his vision of Ron's knives that have gotten them where they are, and I'm just sad that he's not here anymore to see that. But he decided to go a different way and do some different things with his life, but I miss him very much. He was very kind to me and my family and Ron. That's me at about age 23, getting ready to film. We were filming our Traps and Trapping video there. Up in the Sierra Nevada. It was hot that day. Had to keep the camera kept malfunctioning. Had to keep the camera out of the heat until it was filming time, because we were getting digital artifacts. This is my Dough Risings tent from my cave cooking video. We were filming my cave cooking video at the same time. And there's Daddy and Jesse. He was always a wonderful dad, right, Jess? He was always there. They were right next to each other all the time. Fishing up at Lake Darling. Two little goofballs. My two little goofballs, right, Jess? You catch any fish that day?
Yeah.
That's us at the Oregon coast, one of our favorite places. It was fun. And at one of our gatherings, we have a fan gathering every year that our customers put on for us. There's about 150 to 200 people who show up every year, and we're the guests of honor. Ron actually passed away the day that we were going to be leaving on one of our gatherings, so we didn't make it to that gathering. And that was the year that we changed. Someone decided to change that gathering event, the name to End of the World as We Know It. How odd is that? This is when we signed the contract with Buck Knives. There's Phil Duckett and CJ. And Ron and I. That was a really fun day. There's CJ and Ron. Ron did not know he had prostate cancer at this time. This is right before he got diagnosed. Even in the hospital, Ron had a positive attitude, and his attitude, and anyone who teaches survival will tell you that the number one thing that you have in your toolbox in a survival situation is your mind. It's not your knife. It's not, what you have. It's not your clothing. It's not this. It's what you have in your mind. If you can get through things mentally and have a good attitude, and that's what I've had to do. I've learned from him by example. After losing him, I've had to really pull that strength from him. So he was going in to get his prostate surgery at that time. There's Ron, and there's Bear Grylls. Bear Grylls, Ron, and the rest of the crew when they were filming Ultimate Survival. At the same time, Ron was doing a history, right before he passed away, he did a pilot show for History Channel. He was going to be doing, I forget the name of the show, but they were trying to pitch it, and he was the main person in it. And unfortunately, he passed away, and that deal went down the tubes. So we had a lot going on at the time that he passed away, and a lot of things he never got to see through fruition, but he always had a smile on his face. That was a mock-up of our first magazine. It was going to be called Survival.com, but we ended up naming it Survival Quarterly. Jesse and our doggy. Yeah. And this is Ron at Knives on Tactical Knives Live TV at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. This was taken about 4 weeks before he passed away, maybe 4 weeks before he passed away, maybe 5. And he was talking about his blade, and it's unfortunate because Ron's hoodlum came out only maybe 4 or 5 months before he actually passed away, so he hasn't been able to see it in any print. He hasn't seen any of the accolades that it has gotten. He hasn't seen, the punk blade on the cover of Blade magazine. He hasn't seen any of this, and I've been here, and so it's just kind of weighed heavy on me, but I'm proud at the same time, and I know he'd be proud. There he is talking about the knife. These guys were funny. This is Ron at the Blade show. You can see he's not looking very good, and I noticed it when he came back. He was very puffy, and I was very worried about him. Oh no, that was still at Knives Live. The Blade show was really close to this. There he is at the Blade show. Remember what I was talking to you about? This is him doing his presentation at the BCCI club at Blade show. The very last year, a couple weeks before he passed away. At this time, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Ron talk a little bit, because he actually has something to say still. And I think I'm going to do, would you guys like to see how to use a large knife as a small knife, how to strop and how to sharpen, or would you like to see the hoodlum testing video? Because I think we're probably running low on time. This one right here? The hoodlum testing?
Yeah.
Right on.
Because I left the other one for testing in my office.
You what?
I left the other one for testing in my office.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Thanks for sticking around. I know you were going to leave.
It's all good. I didn't need to proceed.
No, there's 3 segments to this video, and we're going to watch all 3. One of them is about the blade, the features. The second one is about the sheath, and then we're going to see the testing. So we'll watch Ron tell us more about his blade and how he came up with it. Jesse. Perfect. Yeah, play. And Ron did this whole, I filmed it and Ron did this video. He edited it. You can turn it up. You can turn it up. Awesome.
Are you done with me?
Are you done with you?
Are you done with me? Do you think you need my
I
help
don't,
anymore?
yeah, I don't know how to get back to the
Okay.
thing. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, don't worry about it.
Now it says Buck Knives Ron Hood. That was one of the first generations right there.
Hi, my name is Ron Hood, and I'm here to introduce the Buck Hood's Woods Hoodlum. Now this is a big blade. This baby measures 10 inches from end to end on the cutting surface, but it only weighs 14 ounces. And you might say to yourself, why in the world do they make a knife that big? Well, let me tell you. I've been teaching wilderness survival for over 40 years. And in all of that time, I visited a lot of different primitive tribes. And among those primitive tribes, one thing stands out in every case. They all use a big knife. Why? Because a big knife can do a small job, but a small knife cannot do a big job. This baby is made to take on all kinds of jobs in a wilderness survival or just a plain old wilderness setting. At 10 inches long, under 14 ounces, you can carry this thing all day long and do any job you want it to do. Now this video isn't here to be an instructional video. What I want to do is just show some of the features of the Buck Hoodlum and give you a sense of what it can do. One of the first things I want to tell you about is this is a little bit different steel than the stuff that Buck's been using for a long time so successfully. This is made out of 5160 spring steel. That's a very flexible and durable steel that can take just about any kind of punishment you want to put it to. Let's take a look at some of the punishment that we might want to expose this blade to. First thing I want to show you is something called batoning. Batoning is where you take a big stick and you turn it into little sticks. And you need this because you might want to start a fire out there when it's good and cold like it is up here in northern Idaho. So I've got this and I need something to start that fire with. Well, I whack on it like that, look, it doesn't go anywhere. So what I do is I pick up a club like this and I hit it. And as you can see now, I just split off the piece that I need. But you know what? Maybe I need something a little bit bigger. Let's say that I need something that, well, I want to make some shingles. Why not, huh? So we'll whack it again. Grab the old baton. Now you don't need to be worried about this. As long as you control the blade, what you're doing is you're just splitting off a big old piece of wood like that, and you got a shingle or a nice hunk of wood to throw into the fire. Well, that's a nice piece of wood, but it's still too big for that fire. So maybe now it's time to go like that. Split that wood right down the center. You probably know, though, that this is still too big to get that fire started, so you might want something called a fuzz stick to get it started. But you can take this knife and just kind of work it like this and carve in your small pieces that are going to catch fire. That would be this stuff right here. And there you go. So you can kind of make whatever you want right on it like this. And that's why we have these big choils right here. This is called a choil. Your finger fits in there, there's another one behind, you grip it good and hard, and that gives you the ability to twist this knife. It gives you lots of leverage, you can really rack it out. But, you know, I just really want little sticks, so I'll just whack off a few pieces. You know what, I think I need a tent stake. Let's make one of those. There you go, that fast. I can do it faster with this knife than I can with an axe. Now some people, they test their blades with bricks. I don't know how many times you've ever cut a brick, but I don't cut bricks. I cut bone and stuff like that. They'll try it on bricks and concrete, just about everything. Oh yeah, this blade broke when I chopped the brick. That's not so smart, is it? Would you do that? I will chop this. Let's see how it performs. A knife like this needs to be able to meet real-world challenges. What kind of a challenge would really put this thing to the test? Well, let me tell you, I'm an elk hunter, and last year I went out and I popped this baby here. Now sometimes when you kill an elk, you've got this big old piece that you got to drag out. You know, you bring it out in quarters. So that means that you're going to end up with legs and things like that that you have to leave behind while you carry out one of the quarters. During the night, they freeze. Now, last night here it was 4 below zero. It got pretty chilly. This leg is a frozen elk leg. It's probably some of the densest bone around. And this is a good real-world test because I might go back to that other quarter. Well, I will go back to that. And you know what? It'll be frozen solid, and I'm going to have to cut it.
This destroys a lot of knives, guys. We have tested so many. It puts pits in it.
There you go. Frozen elk bone. Tore that baby apart. Gave it a few extra chops because the skin on it is a little bit frozen and kind of sticky. But you get the idea. Went right through it. But does this still have an edge? You bet it does. Just as smooth and almost as sharp as it was before we chopped that bone. Let me show you what I mean. Well, let me see. Let's get some good coffee here. There we go. Now that gives you some sense of the kind of edge retention we get out of a piece of 5160 steel done by Buck Knives. The best fatty meat stuff in a bone is going to be in the marrow. Sometimes you want to get at it. So what you do with this is you kind of put it on your bone and you just work it back and forth. If you don't have a saw, then this would be your only real choice. What that does is it puts a scoring spot on there, which weakens it up a little bit. And you take the back of your knife, you whack it, and it cracks it open like that so you can get right in there and get all of that marrow right out. So I just used the bone scoring tool to crack this to get the marrow out. And look what else I got, a nice sharp piece of bone. I can take my knife now and do a little whittling on it, and guess what? In a survival situation, I now have a spear point. So the knife, with that little etching tool on there, that little scoring tool, can give you things like this that you could use to enhance your chances of survival. But maybe, just maybe, you don't have a bone. Maybe you need to get the animal first. What would you use if you didn't have this to use as a spear? Well, let me show you. I got my little Buck multi-tool here, and I just extruded the screwdriver on it. You can see that the handle comes right off. Now that I've removed the two screws that hold the handle scales in place, it reveals the interior. And in here, you can see we've got a chamber. Now that chamber is a very special chamber. It's actually designed, we designed this to take up shock. It's part of what we call the shock mitigation system, or SMS. This little chamber in here helps to absorb whatever shock is coming down from the shots with the blade and keep it away from your hand. The handle is the interface between you and the knife, and a lot of knives transmit a lot of shock and vibration back to the hand, making it hard on the user to continue to work with the knife. Not only that, but shocking your hand means energy lost from the blade. So let's just go ahead and I'll remove the other scale, like that. Now you can see the interior of the SMS, or shock mitigation system. One of the nice things about this is, if you want to, you can remove the scales entirely and change the blade in another way, which I'll show you in a moment. Something else, you can also set this up as like a little survival kit chamber if you want to. I don't really recommend that because the sheath has a good sized pocket on it where you can put all your survival gear, but some people do put fire starting tools and wire and so forth in there, and it works just fine. It still absorbs the shock. But there's something else about this. With that handle off of there, you can now bind this to a stick and make yourself a spear. When you bind this on, this will be in a straight line with your spear, and you'll be able to get game that way. Of course, you wouldn't throw it. What you would do is probably stab something with it. Let me show you something else you could do with that chamber. Now you can see what I've done here is I took another blade, and I simply removed the handle scales and wrapped it with parachute cord, 550 cord. And this now makes the handle. It lightens up the knife even more. It still gives you the shock protection that you want from that SMS system, but it also adds to your kit here, right on the knife, a full-on 10 feet of parachute cord that you could use for binding this to your spear or for any other use that you might conceive of. So that's another advantage of having this removable scale system with the SMS inside. Just so you know, this knife has been in development for over 2 years, and we've got hundreds of these things out in the field working hard. Now that's backed by the Buck Knives Forever Warranty. And that warranty is something that came out of the 100-year history of Buck Knives, a company that is American-owned right here in Idaho, and where everybody cares about the product they put out. If it's a Buck, it's the best.
I have to add that when Ron shot that, it was a very stressful time in our life. We were waiting to get his bone scan back to find out whether he had cancer, and every single time the phone would ring, we'd be like, you know, it was just a terrible, terrible thing. And he goes, I'm not going to sit in here and just stressed out. Let's go out and film this thing. Let's just go out and do something positive. Let's go film this thing. So he did that even under that amount of stress. I was really proud of him. I don't know if you want to see any more of Ron's. Can you show me how to get, because then you can leave, because I know you got to leave. Do you want to show me how to, because I might have one more
The other video,
thing to show, yeah.
Go grab it.
Okay.
All you have to do is put the disc on and it starts.
Okay, it just starts automatically. Cool. Great. So lots of really neat features, huh?
That was filmed here in Idaho, right?
That was filmed right in our driveway. That was our little cage where we keep all, right, Corey? It's a cage where we keep all of our wood. So yeah, right here. And it was 4 below. And the reason Ron had those on, and I was filming with gloves on, it was really cold. We were worried our camera was going to malfunction, as a matter of fact. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Go fast forward. Signing. Come on, Hood. I know there's more here. This one was the last one. Jesse loves his dad, and he had a chance just this last school year he goes to a school where they have to wear uniforms, and they have every once in a while on a Friday they'll say, you know what, you can dress up as your favorite star. And there were people coming in dressed as Lady Gaga and, you know, whatever, you know, and he came dressed as his dad, and I thought that was precious. I thought that was precious. Good job, Jesse. And there he is in a Wizmaster outfit with a handsome young man. These are some of the other knives that he's designed before. The thing I wanted to mention about Tops knives also, I don't think I finished that thought, was that Mike Fuller originally produced the Hoodlum. And he produced it for a while under his Tops brand. And Tops at the time, Mike Fuller at the time was being brought on by Buck to do a tactical line. So they thought, well, why don't we do a tactical survival line? And hey, I've got this really cool knife called the Hoodlum, and Ron Hood, he's a survival expert. Everybody knows who Ron Hood is, award-winning, you know, guy. Everybody loves him. Why don't you check this out? And he's the one who introduced us and gave the blessing for Buck to do the Hoodlum. So these are all Anaconda 7, and Anaconda 9 by Tops Knives. Ron and I have cartoons written about us, and this was our we used to have our own hot sauce called tongue scab sauce, and so that's me and Ron. And that's Jesse and me and Ron. This was actually our last trip together up at Lake Darling. This is Luke Swenson. He writes for our magazine. He lives in San Antonio, Texas. He's a firefighter, and we love his family. They just recently moved up here. Ron was so excited. He said, you guys have to move up here. You have to move up here. Well, they have moved up here since he passed away, and he's not here to see it. So this is an artist rendition done of Ron from the 1970s. This was done after he passed away. This was directly from my friend's memory of Ron. He didn't use any pictures or anything. And it looks like it's real. We sell it in our magazine. We have information on selling it. It's beautiful. Mike Fuller and Ron, the very last Blade show. Mike Fuller's not wearing that anymore. And Robert Pelton. You guys may recognize him. This is our very last dinner. We have a restaurant around here. This is our very last dinner at our favorite restaurant. It's called the Floating Restaurant. And it's right here on near Blackwell Marina. And we used to go there, and it was our very favorite time. And this was our last time we went there together. There's my adventurer. This was 2 days before he passed away, Father's Day. And Jesse made both of those for Daddy when he woke up in the morning. Okay, we've got jungle things. I'm not going to do any jungle things. I'd rather do this. That'd be great. We're going to watch another video. Ron's going to show you how to use a large knife as a, you can show me how to do it, and then when you take it out, it goes right back?
Yeah.
Okay. So minimize it? Okay. Thank you so much. This is taken from our tracking video. Teaches you how the fundamentals of tracking. Obviously, this was filmed before the hoodlum came out, and I think he's
First thing you gotta learn is
Is
you don't
anaconda.
chop like this.
with
Believe it or not, that's the way a lot of people chop with a big blade. There is a technique, and it's in the wrist. You've probably heard that before. Let me show you the technique. First thing you do is you select a small piece of willow like the one I have here, and you lay it against something that you can cut against without damaging the blade. I'm using this old tree here. Now, when you learn how to chop with a big knife, what you want to learn is that your wrist does most of the cutting, like this. So learn how to just hold your arm stable and move the wrist to chop, like this. So practice that motion until the muscles get used to just chopping in that way. As soon as you've accomplished that, you can move the next portion of your arm, which will be your forearm and your wrist. So your muscles have learned this technique. Now you want to add this. Try to keep your upper arm and shoulders still. Do this. You can see how that chop's pretty good now. Now if you really want to throw some energy into it, include your shoulder, upper arm, forearm, and wrist. That'll do the job. Once you start cutting like that, you can move on to heavier pieces of wood, something like this here. You can see it cruises right through and makes a nice smooth cut in the end of the wood. Now where on the blade am I hitting? Well, I like to hit right up in this area here. That gives me the most power. Now you know on the anaconda knife, we have a little bit of a drop to the blade. You can see how it just sort of drops forward. In this style of knife, you get a little bit more power because the blade is actually preceding the full extension of your wrist, and that's why we designed it this way.
which he designed the
So-
exactly the same way.
Well, I'm talking about the anaconda. I haven't mentioned that this particular knife has a few features that you might find useful. Let me show you those.
You can use the hoodlum in the same manner.
Another feature of the anaconda is these three little teeth here. Some people think this is a saw, but that's not the function. These are actually a wire cutter. They're capable of cutting wire like barbed wire, chain link fence, and other kinds of wire. Let me show you how to use these. What you do is you lay the teeth over the top of the barbed wire or wire you're trying to cut. You see that it engages it perfectly there. To cut the wire, you simply bend back and forth.
I almost got my eye smacked on this one.
In order to use this big knife as a small knife, I've attached a lanyard. This here is the lanyard. What you do is you put your hand through the lanyard and your forearm about like so. And then you grip the blade by the side, just as you see here. Now I have good control of the small cutting edge on the front of the knife. And I can work about like this to do my carving. It also allows me to use the tip of the tonto like a little drill. I've got good control because I'm just using my forearm and wrist to control the knife. As you can see, this gives you a nice straight little edge. Now there's another thing about this edge that's handy. It's a lot easier to sharpen than a curved edge at the forward portion of your knife. All you have to do is kind of file it. That's a couple of features that I find handy about this design. Another thing about the Tonto tip is it tends to be stronger than other designs. You don't have to be shy about prying with the Tonto tip. We talked a lot about knives, but we haven't talked much about sharpening those knives. Remember, the knife is the most important tool that you have. Now, there are a lot of different ways to sharpen a knife. You've probably been taught things by your parents or your great-grandfather or some Indian chief or who knows who. But everybody's got their own way to sharpen a knife. And the funny thing is, a lot of those things are contradictory. So I'm going to show you some tools and some techniques for sharpening a knife. And some of these things you probably cringe at. Others, on the other hand, will probably make a lot of sense to you. So let's take a look at these. I thought I'd start with these two sharpening tools here. These are probably the coarsest but fastest ways to sharpen a blade. These don't do anything for your blade but peel off metal. Both of these rely on little carbide cutting edges set in a V. This means that the cutting angle for your edge is going to remain constant all the time you're sharpening. But it also means that it's going to remove a lot of steel from your blade. Let me show you how these are used. What you do, you hold your blade about like this. Now with a big blade, it's easier to do it this way. But you hold it with the blade facing up. You see this little guard here? That's to protect your fingers. These things are kind of scary. You put the blade into the little V made by the cutting edges, and you draw, about like so. And that actually scrapes little bits of steel right off your edge. But it puts an edge on very quickly. About like so. Same idea with this one. Just draw it like that. You can hear a little squeaking. That's removing steel from my edge. Not a great thing, but it puts a quick serviceable edge on your steel. Another way to put an edge on your knife is something like this device here. This is called an easy lap, and there are several designs like this one. But inside there's a little rod that you can tighten into place with a collar, and this rod has diamond flakes on it. You'll see there's a round side and a flat side like so. This really steals the metal from your knife, so you can bring it to an edge in a hurry. These people Easy Lap also make this device here. It's just a little flat metal plate with the diamonds impregnated in the surface. And these come in fine, medium, and coarse grade as well. I'll show you how to use those things in just a few minutes. There's another device. This one doesn't rely so much on removing metal as putting it back into place. And there's a little bit of a grinding taking place as well. This one here has two little rods set in at an angle to hold the proper edge angle. One side of this thing is a coarse, this one over here is a coarse rod that removes a little bit of metal, and this one over here is fine. These are made out of ceramic. And the main idea of these is to force the edge back into some sort of lineup. Now this one here is useless on a big blade like this job here because this has a 1/4 inch metal and it won't fit down in there, so you can't sharpen with it. But ideally, you just drop your blade down inside there and draw it back and forth, and that'll put the edge back on it. Another idea in the ceramic field is this one here. This little device is we call a Lansky sharpener, and it's made in a triangle. You can see a little groove down the center here. You can use that groove for sharpening fish hooks. The edges can be used to sharpen things like serrated knives, and the flat portions will sharpen conventional knives and axes. There's another level that you can go to, and that's this. This is just a piece of steel. This one's actually a Gerber steel. This is what I use a lot to dress my edges, and it doesn't really take any metal off of your edge. It doesn't remove any metal. All it does is line the edges back up again. What happens a lot of time when you're cutting with a knife is the edge does not wear off. It just folds over, it kind of bends over a little bit. And these types of tools here push that edge back into line where they can do the cutting for you. The last and most unconventional way, or perhaps it's even the most conventional way to sharpen an edge, is just a piece of leather called a straw. And I'm going to show you how to use that as well. With most of these rod-type sharpeners, the directions call for you to move the blade in this manner here, like you're cutting off a piece of cheese. So you're actually cutting into the edge of the steel, like so. The trick is to keep the same angle while you're doing it. What is that angle? Well, different manufacturers manufacture their blades with different cutting angles at the very edge here. What I generally do is I lay my thumb on the top of the rod, like so, and use that to keep the edge at a consistent angle. So while I'm drawing it, I just lay the blade down on top of my thumb, and you can see it's hitting on the rod right here, and then draw it like so, a little bit of a forward motion. There's not too much change in edge angle if I do it that way. And of course, after you do one side, you flip it over and do the other side. So that's the same with that tool or with this little piece here. Same idea. Just cut a piece of cheese. Now, that's what they tell you. There's another way to work these things, and that's to hold the blade still, like you see here. In this case, you work these tools like a file, like this. See, this is the way they used to sharpen axes. They file the edge. And it's real easy to hold the same angle with your tool if you're using the tool as the part that moves. You can see here, I can just stay at it like so. Now, how hard do you press? Not very hard. If you press hard, you're going to roll that edge over. You don't want to do that. So just a light pressure on here is usually enough to get the edge back on your blade. And as you do it, go lighter and lighter and lighter, like that. Then turn it over, and you can go the other direction. Like so. And then to finish it off, you can hold the bar at an exact angle and move it back and forth in this way a few times. To do this, that kind of finishes the edge and brings everything back into line. There we go there. Now, with these little easy lap pieces of this type, these are also used in that manner. Just use them like a real fine file. Just gently press on the edge, and that'll buff this baby up to a razor sharpness. If you're using a sharpening steel, same idea. Just go like that, like so. Remember, any of these tools can be used both ways. Like this, and like that. Of course, you always want to be careful that you're not going to put your hands in the way of that moving blade. The sharper it gets, the safer it gets once it touches your skin. There you go. That's some of the basics of sharpening with these types of tools. Now, another thing that people use is a sharpening stone. That's just a piece of flat grinding stone, and they either move it in a circle or they move it in this manner here against the stationary stone. Most people don't carry those nowadays. Most people work with these little tools. Let me show you the strop. Stropping is kind of a funny word. I never could figure out if it means strapping or if it's just a word that's taken from the sound that you make when you use it. Strop, strop, strop. Whatever it is, it's a way of sharpening your knife with a piece of leather. Now, usually what I use is my belt. That's this thing here. You may have noticed that it's a little bit large. What this actually is a cinch strap. I went down to a tack shop and I picked up a big long piece of cinch strap here. It's about 2 inches wide. Bought a little buckle, or a big buckle, and some other little bangles and dangles and things like that, and put it together. And this is my equipment belt as well as my sharpening tool. Now, you don't have to have a belt like this to do stropping. I also have my utility bag here, and this is also made out of leather. This can be used as easily as the belt. I even have the sheath that I put my knife in, and I can use this. You can use the side of your boot or anything else that's made of leather, or even a very, very abrasive cloth like Coeur. But let me show you how these things are used. What you do when you're stropping is you're taking the metal that's on the edge of your blade and you're laying it down flat. Typically when you're sharpening an edge, the corners or the edges of the blade like to fold over a little bit. And stropping just brings that back up into line where it gives you a great cutting edge. Another thing it does is it breaks off little burrs that you might have gotten on there when you're doing your initial sharpening. So how do you do it? Well, you can see I've backed this piece of leather up with a tree stump. And the way you do it is different from the way you're sharpening. You see, you draw away from your edge, like so. Turn it over and pull across. This may not seem like it does much, but once you've done it to a blade, you realize it really does a lot. Now what angle am I laying it at? It's actually just about flat. About flat with the flattened edge of the blade here, this ground out portion. So it's about at that angle. You don't want to go in too steep because that will actually fold the edge over. You want to come in sort of shallow, like this. So you go like this, maybe 6 or 8 strokes on one side, turn it over, and do 6 or 8 strokes on the other side. Don't press too hard. The idea isn't to press, but to kind of wear that edge back into place. Once you've done this a few times, like so, it'll be ready to go. That edge will be polished, nice and sharp. I took my belt down to the stream and wet it, so it's just moist, that's all. Let me show you what to do next. Lay the dirt like this. Put some dirt in it. You do it to both sides. Now when it's good and dirty, let's go find a tree. Once you've got your belt dirty, take it over to a tree, and you can either wrap it around the base of the tree, or if you've got a little piece of ladder wood like this one here, you can kind of hang it over the ladder wood, like that. And you can see that's good and solid in this way. You back it up with your knee, like so. You can stop right on your knee. You gotta be careful if you do this. You don't want to slice your pants up or a chest. You don't want to slice your leg out. So be kind of careful. Give it a few stops on each side and go easy. Now, in the olden days, you might remember that barbers would just hold a piece of leather like so and strop like this. It was kind of awkward, but you get the idea. They would do that. Well, on a hollow ground blade, that works pretty good. But in big field knives, it doesn't work so well. In fact, you may lose more edge than you put onto it. So, there we go. So I recommend that you back it up and do it like this. There you go. You can also use dirt on your stationary stopping posts like this one. What you do is you take a little dirt from the ground and rub it into the stopping leather like so, and then do it just the way you would do it if you didn't have any dirt on there. Just rub it like so. Now, of course, this is a field expedient. If you were back at your hacienda, why, you might use something like jeweler's rouge. That gives it a really high polish and really brings the edge out on this thing. Brings it out to shaving sharpness. Now, something about shaving sharpness. That's not necessary on a field knife like this. In fact, I don't think that's a real good idea. It's nice to have it good and sharp so that you can chop things easily, but if you put a shaving edge on it, it's also going to be a fairly fragile edge. So if you're chopping heavy or hard woods, you're going to lose the edge in a hurry. So I like a field edge, sharp enough to say, yeah, that'll cut, but dull enough that I don't lose any hair. Now that we've ground and stropped our blade,
You guys want to see
we
more?
have
I know we're
an
getting.
exposed steel.
There's
See this
probably
area
maybe
up
about
in here, it's
maybe
just
5
exposed
minutes
a little
left on
bit.
this.
But down in here, on any knife,
Okay.
you're likely to
Okay.
expose
Then I'll
real
close it out.
fine edge. Of course, that's the idea, that will rust more easily than other portions of the blade. So what you do then is use something like this. We use this tough cloth here, the marine tough cloth, and we just rub this material right into it. And this will help to retard any chance that it's going to discolor any more than it has, and it'll also retard the rusting process, like so. Just rub a little bit on. Most of the stuff is safe. You can also use, if you'd like to, olive oil or butter or any other kind of wax or oil. There you go. So there she is, nice and sharp, buffed up, and ready to cut. There we go. Well, something new.
All right. All right, so Ron used to always say, the only thing more dangerous than a sharp knife is a dull knife. The only time I've ever really cut myself is with a dull knife, so, you know. Then, by the way, this is the knife that he used in that. I didn't realize it, but you know, actually, when I was filming that, I was going, "You have got to be kidding with me," and that's dropping. And I felt that when he got done, and it is razor sharp. This thing is so sharp. I don't even think we've used it since. And so, but I wanted to, you can, yes, go sit down and hold it. Nope, I'll give it to you when you sit down. You want to show everybody knife safety and how to hand it to someone? Want to do that? Want to show them how you should always hand a knife to someone? Very good, thank you. And you make sure that they are holding on to it when they get it, right? And how do you walk with it? Can you show me how you walk with it? That's right. With the thing facing down, we don't ever walk like this or like that, right? Very good, Jesse. I think that's it. I will be sticking around if you guys have any questions, because I was going to open it up to questions, but I know we've really run
Tell
time.
everyone how they can order the DVDs. And
Yes. So, okay. Thank you.
tracks, that real
Yes,
quick.
definitely. If you go to survival.com, you can order our DVDs, and I do have them on special this month. My magazine is not a subscription magazine unless you get it on the digital. We sell it through Zenio.com. You can get it digitally downloaded to your iPad or whatever device that you have. But our magazines are sold individually, and they're $8.50 each. I think they're on special right now for $6 or something. Or you can buy them in a gift set, which is all of them, and it's usually the best deal if you're just starting out to buy the entire gift set, because you'll get them for like $5 each if you get them in a gift set.
On the webpage.
That's correct. You can buy the Thug, and all of the blades that you buy from us are hand signed and dated by Jesse and I. It's the only place you can get them other than events like this. So we sell the Thug, the Hoodlum, and the Punk. I also have these for sale. There was quite a few people who didn't come by my booth yesterday, and I don't think that a lot of you know about this. This is from the original 50 that were made. This is one of the original. They don't even sell them like this. I only have 18 available. 3 of them are staying with my family. I sold 1 last night, so we have 14 available left. These are of the 50 that were originally produced. After research and development and testing, only 18 survived. And they're all marked sample, and I'm selling them with this case, and this is the only place where you can get a copy of Ron's original drawing with the coffee stains and all. So it does come like this, and there's only, like I said, there's only 14 of them, and so I'm selling them for $9.95 each. But there's not going to be any made. Once these are gone, they're gone. They're the first 50, and they come with the original date on them, which is actually the month that Ron passed away. So.
You can take Visa.
Yeah, Visa, MasterCard, and American Express, and Discover. And all of our DVDs are on there, and thank you for asking that. I appreciate that. Yes.
What was the DVD title that you were showing?
That was our tracking, fundamentals of tracking. And we do show, it's very in-depth on signage, and the filming is very good. Obviously, I filmed it, but we did win a Telly Award for it also. But you can see how to tracking indicators and things like that. It's really interesting. Yes. And the boot knife, yes. Buck Knives is coming out with a boot knife for 2014. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very happy about that. I didn't know that was happening until yesterday when that got announced. So I'm very excited about that. I wanted to, on a personal note, I wanted to thank Heath. Heath is my new love, and he has been wonderful to my family. A lot of you are probably going, wow, I wonder what's going on with Karen in her life. Well, he is in my life now, and I'm very proud to have him in my life. Before Ron passed away, we knew that he was ill, and I said, if you passed away, what would you want me to do? And he told me that I would want you to find happiness and find love again. And so he basically gave me and Jesse, and he wanted someone who would be nice to Jesse also, and who was kind and patient, and Corey, or Heath has been, Corey's his middle name, Heath has been wonderful to us, so thank you, Heath, very much for coming into our lives.